Hi, I'm Phil Rood, and this is my 100 Days of Making Comics. Day 100. This is it. This is what I've been working towards, and trying to nail, trying to stick the landing on this point. So I made it. Day 100. Happy Easter, everybody, by the way, who celebrates or enjoys chocolate. Easter Monday's the real holiday for those of you who don't celebrate and enjoy chocolate because, discount jelly beans. But it's been kind of a crazy last couple weeks. And it's been a crazy day today, as I've been a little bit under the weather for the last couple weeks. Just some ongoing health stuff, nothing major. Just enough to kind of nag at me and make me not want to do my time on the board. But this challenge has sort of kept me honest and kept me chipping away at it. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I am live today with this. I wanted to, I wanted to do something kind of special, and I don't live stream very much because it makes me ramble in real time. But I did kind of want to, I wanted to do this one live and just sort of have a celebration. Also, it helps knowing that it is Easter Sunday and a lot of people are probably not going to stumble on this and watch it. They are off doing family stuff or something better with their day today, or prepping up for Game of Thrones last season, episode 2 tonight, which I am really stoked about. I want to take a second here and show off my cool new pencil box or pen box. This is a cigar box I picked up yesterday. I had one of those kind of tackle box kind of things, but when you get to carrying a lot of stuff, I know this is cluttered, but that gets packed out pretty quick. So I just said, give me a big open bin, and stumbled on this at my job yesterday. Java by Drew Estate, whatever this cigar is. This I want to show you real quick. This made me laugh because it says long filler, and the way that L is shaped, it looks like it says bong filler, which I thought was, it made me chuckle a little bit. Not on topic at all with what I'm doing today. I'm going to work on this bottom panel here, which is something I kind of struggled with in the penciling stage because it is at a weird angle. But this is one of the things about this challenge that I got into, was trying out weird angles. It's kind of the point of challenging myself at all, is in saying, let me step out of what I'm comfortable with and try something new, and try to see if I can kind of see if I can make some strides and make some progress with what I'm doing. And it's kind of cool to give that a shot and to step out and be a little bit pleasantly surprised with what you come up with. I'm talking over myself. Sorry, I have my own audio in my ear. And it's throwing me off. So yeah, I landed on this for pencils on this panel, and I'm not unhappy with it. I'm not totally stoked about it. But I am kind of happy with how it, and also to find some satisfaction with something you took a chance with working on. In general, I want to talk a little bit about this challenge. Anyone who's, just stumbled upon this without watching my last 99 days worth of videos. I did not do 99 videos, by the way. Or anyone who is not familiar, the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge is a 100-day challenge started by comic creator and musician and all-around good guy Kevin Cross a few years back. It is challenging creators to take 30 minutes a day, no matter what they have going on, at least 30 a day, to work on their own personal project. So whether you have client work, whether you have a day job, whether you have family things going on, it's all about prioritizing your project, your work, and making sure that you take time to work on it, which is, I think, a really good thing. Because, hey, Clay. Because if something is important to you on a personal level, like a lot of these projects are for a lot of us, I think it's really important to make sure you make time for it. A lot of times I think we look at, well, this is the job that's making me money, whether that's your day job and whether that's art related or not. I have family obligations, as a lot of people do. I have work obligations outside the home. I have some art obligations that I owe to people. And those are all really good things. But this is something I do for me, and I think all too often we put that thing for ourselves on the back burner. So Kevin Cross, when he started this, I think that was a lot of his motivator, was saying, I have put off this project of mine. I'm putting words in his mouth now, but the gist of what I got from it was, I have put off this project of mine for too long, and now I'm, to ensure that I put in the time it deserves, he started this. And he's done this several times. It's his own challenge, and he's risen to it. I don't think anyone can talk that kind of trash at, like, he doesn't walk the walk, and I've seen a bunch of other people, followed a bunch of people doing this same challenge, and I finally decided to throw down and do it myself 100 days ago. I've been surprised at how fast the 100 days has actually gone. And I think a couple other people, my wife and also my podcasting partner, David Luzader, mentioned something the other day. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe it's been, 90 some days already. And yesterday my wife says, oh, wow, 99 days. She's like, don't miss tomorrow, whatever you do. It has kind of flown by. I've marked in earlier videos this, I don't know if I want to revisit this. It sounds like I'm bragging. This was not insanely challenging to me through a lot of it, because I've sort of earmarked some time to get work done in general at my art desk. And I've done it for years. I've gotten up at 3:30 in the morning. And that's right around an hour before I actually leave to go to work, to go to my regular job. So I tend to get 45 minutes to an hour on the art desk before I even really start my day. I'm having coffee, I'm waking up, I will listen to some music or sometimes a podcast. Sometimes I'll throw on like the Artcasters or Jeff Lafferty's Artcast or another Hundreds. Uh, Teresa is someone I've picked up following. Marshall Lee, Clay at Van Illustration. I've watched a few. I just kind of pick out a couple of those to watch um, and just sort of start my day getting some drawing done. Sometimes it's getting some writing done, and if that's the case, I tend to not have anything playing. Some silence or some instrumental music, something without words. I know there are people who write with lyrical music playing. I'll never understand how people do that. It's a little bit insane to me, but to each his own. Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I was bragging about how awesome I am because this wasn't hard for me. No, this was hard for me. Like I was saying earlier, I've had a couple of days where I am just not feeling very well. Earlier today, I had a pretty rough headache. I'm still kind of feeling the remnants of it, but not near what it was. And I did kind of, because I had wanted to do a live stream today. I kind of considered just going, treat this like every other day. Do your 30 and take a picture and post it on Instagram. That's how I've done my daily updates. It's just pictures on Instagram. But I did get to feeling better, and I am doing the live video, which I wanted to do. And that's where I think this challenge has been helpful to me. Days where I have not really felt up to it. Days where I would have easily just kicked back in my recliner and said, "Not today. I'm gonna be lazy. I'm gonna phone it in." This challenge sort of keeps you honest and makes sure that you are going to bat every day. And that's really a good thing. That's what I think so many more of us need that than a lot of times we're willing to admit. We need that thing to help keep us honest, just because it's not that we don't care about our projects. It's that we just get busy and it becomes the thing that's easy to put off. I think I'm talking in a circle because I think that's basically what I've said already. So in that respect, I found this challenge very helpful. It helped me. I'm sliding off the. I'm sliding out of frame here, I think. Sorry. Again, lost my train of thought there. I like inking because it's kind of mindless work, but still, I tend to lose my train of thought here and there. But I think that has less to do with multitasking and more to do with I'm a bit of a simpleton. The challenge. Yeah, that's one of the things I got from it was just it's a kick in the pants. It's the discipline a lot of us need. And if you are someone who thinks you can benefit from that, and I think most of us who can benefit from that understand that that's the kind of personality we are and that's what we need sometimes. So if you're being honest with yourself and you understand that you are not quite as disciplined with your own project as you could be, that's where I think this challenge comes in pretty handy and pretty it turns out to be a pretty good thing. my son Austin asked me yesterday, like, "Are you done with your comic?" Like, as in, he sort of took this as a you have 100 days to finish your comic as opposed to something for the workflow. So I explained to him that that's not what this was, but that the idea, the bigger idea behind this, and I think this is really the important part, is, or the important part for me that I am taking away from this is that this has helped me sort of stay in that routine and make sure that I am in a rhythm of making comics as part of my schedule, part of my drawing schedule of things that need to get done, and that I am sort of in the flow of, in balancing projects, I'm able to look at comics as, here's one more thing on the plate. Now I know how to make room for it on the plate. You know what I mean? Like, here's all these things that need to get done. Here's comics. And instead of me saying, okay, here's all these things that need to get done, I'm going to spend all my day doing these. And then comics will get whatever's left over. Whatever room is left over on the plate. And oftentimes there was no room left over on the plate. Now I know how to make room on that plate. This plate analogy is getting really tired because I just keep saying plate over and over. But now I do know a little more of how to balance. Let me get my comics work done in the morning, and let me get my deadline work done when I get home in the afternoon. It's a lot easier for me to look at here's 30 minutes a day as not the icing on top of the cake. It's part of the cake. You have to do it. And I can't promise that I will do my comics work every single day. But the effort to do it every single day, now that the challenge is over, should still be there. I know there will be a day or two, a stray day or two here and there, where something won't get done. And I think that's okay. You got to allow for that. No one's perfect. There's no challenge to hold you accountable. It's I'm not going to be in contest mode every day, which sounds like I'm already copping out. But the reality is that some days, things happen. I did have a couple of days where family obligations sort of reared their head, and illness reared its head, and things like that. And I do think there is a certain amount of healthy adult that allows us to kind of say, yeah, taking this day off and getting some rest is actually the better call, the more responsible call. If we want to talk about how a lot of us conducted ourselves when we were quite a bit younger, some of you probably are still young bucks, but this idea of hustling and trying to land jobs and taking jobs with insane deadlines because we were sure there was going to be a payoff to it at some point. And, there were all-nighters pulled, and there were 24-hour just jamming to get drawings done, and all kinds of stuff. I stopped doing that stuff a long time ago because I really don't know if I have ever had a job. Or I can tell you that I've never had a job. I can say I don't know if a job exists where jeopardizing your health, your mental health, and your physical health, and burning out I just don't think that's worth it. I don't think that's healthy to. A lot of those jobs are just, it's speculative as for what you're going to get out of that. At the end of the day, a lot of us kind of were like, well, there'll be some steady work waiting on the other side of this. I won't have to do this again. I won't have to hustle as much. And, I think, for speaking for myself, that never came. It just got to be another job that I was hustling with an insane deadline. There were good paying jobs that I left where I refunded money and said, this is not worth it. And decided not to do that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, there are limits. Even if you're doing this challenge and you have a real, you're starting to burn out. If you have a real heavy workload, maybe adding that one thing is not for you. But if you're just trying to make time for your comic or this doesn't have to be a comics challenge. If you're making an animated movie and you want to make sure that you're setting aside time for it, whatever your project is, I think this kind of challenge applies, but only if you can do it in a healthy way. I want to talk about the idea of possibly doing this again. And I really don't know. I've been kind of focused on getting to the end of this, and yeah, I would possibly do this again. I haven't I've looked forward to getting to the end, but haven't looked that far past it as far as this challenge goes. I don't think it's necessarily something I need to do again. But it's one of these things where it's sort of like, if I caught myself I don't want to say slacking. I don't want to use, I'm trying not to use negative terms so much. If I caught myself maybe not making the time that I probably should to make comics, and I decided that I needed a little more discipline in making sure that my comics got done, and that I just needed to tighten up the ship a little bit, I would really see this as a good way to do that. It's not something I need to do. I know some of you artists do this a lot. Some of you guys have gone through this 3, 4, 5 times, because it keeps you tight. It keeps you accountable, and I can see the ongoing appeal of it. And some people, I think, really thrive on that, and it's really cool. We all do what we do. I have mornings where I get up and don't necessarily feel like drawing, but that's, I know that also that's my quiet time in the house. The rest of my household is sleeping at that time. So I make myself do it, and other people do it in this way, by running this challenge over and over. And I think that's great if that is for you. I can see maybe hitting this challenge every year and a half, and just keeping everything tightened up, or doing a shorter version of 50 days or something like that. But either way, this challenge is cool because it is about, excuse me as I'm drinking coffee here too, by the way. This challenge is about, setting a bar for yourself, and setting those goals, and allowing yourself to attain them. It's about, Now, we talk about setting goals a lot, and I just think that like there are goals that are set that are I think everything's attainable, but this idea of like, well, I want to be I want to establish a comic book company and a publishing company, or I want to animate a feature within the next year. Like, but there's so much to be said about setting an attainable goal. I up until last this last fall, I taught comics classes for kids locally, and you can always tell the anime kids or the manga kids who come in, because they come in and we say, all right, we're gonna do a 3-pager, and these kids always go, well, I've got this 12-volume manga series planned out, and that's what they want to work on. And a lot of times I'd kind of be like, oh, let's start small, and they really weren't interested in that. They've had this idea, this, that, and the other, and I said, well, give me a shorter version of it. And a lot of times they'd say, okay, well, I've got this, and they'd sort of thumbnail things out. We talk about thumbnailing, get through all the basics, and then they go, well, I've got this, and it's 20 pages. And I said, can you pencil me 20 pages in the class? We get to a certain point in class, and it is just working on comics and answering questions and a lot of independent study kind of stuff for the older kids. And I said, can you do that in the 3 weeks we have left or whatever? Oh yeah, I can do it. And you just let them go, and 4 or 5 pages in, a lot of times you'd start to see them bob and weave and sort of run out of gas, and what's the matter? And they're just completely bored with the idea. I've drawn this character 100 times, and it's like, well, that's what comics is. And this goal they came in with, they were going to kickstart this giant series, and it's not what the class was about. I was always trying to tell them that's not what we're doing here. But they come in, they just had their mindset on this goal that just was not attainable for the 7-week class, and not necessarily appropriate for what we were doing, where it was a fundamentals class. So I do really believe in the importance of an attainable goal, because I think finishing something it's underrated. The idea of having this, everybody loves to see somebody land a big project. Oh, that's great. Here's this huge thing. It's going to be a giant undertaking, and boy, won't it feel great when that is finished. But there's, I think, so much to be said for a goal that is just straight up like, here's something you can finish in a reasonable amount of time. I think mini comics are a great example of that, because you can go out and you can do a mini comic in a week. You can do an 8-page sketch comic kind of thing. Pretty easy. And it's done and it's out in the world, or you can, the new mini comics I think are just, PDF ebooks and things like that. But, yeah, it's great. The other thing this challenge reinforced that I want to hit on real quick was something I already knew, but it's good to be reminded of. And that is, I think people can figure out while they're doing this challenge that 30 minutes doesn't seem like a lot of time. But 30 minutes every day adds up. Even if you don't get your 30 in one sitting, you know. I think this is a thing that for a lot of creators is a big sort of wall to get over, is the idea of what a lot of time is. There's sometimes for all of us where you maybe don't have a big block of time, but you've got 10 minutes. You've got 10 minutes before dinner. You've got 15 minutes before you have to head out somewhere. And you look at the clock and you look at this blank page and you go, I've got 15 minutes. I can't get anything done in 15 minutes that's worthwhile. But if you have 10 or 15 minutes every day, just like if you take this 30 minutes every day, I think you start to figure out that that is a decent amount of time. That 10, 15 minutes every day does get shit done. That you are able to actually accomplish something. And that within that 10 minutes a day, in 3 or 4 days, you know, you've got a panel with some tight pencils. Sometimes not even that. It depends on how. Yeah, I think everyone, you can start to kind of tell how slow I am at stuff. Because I'm sure somebody's out there going, 3 or 4 days? I'll have that done in 10 minutes. I'll have a whole page. Someone's in there like, God, I wonder if this guy takes 100 days to get anything done. But yeah, I just think there's so much that you can do. There's so much that I have gotten done in the past. 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time. Because, when I kind of started making comics and I started cartooning more seriously and sort of looking for work and taking on some freelance jobs and doing some book illustrating and things like that, just whatever I could get. When I started that, I had small kids. I had small children. And that's all you have when you have small children, is little chunks of time to get things done. So you learn to work in those parameters. You learn to work 10 minutes at a time. You learn to get things done in your regular life and in your artistic life. You learn to take things on a little bit at a time, and actually it's easier for you in those circumstances to see those results, because that's just your reality, I think. In between, sometimes I would have dinner on the stove. My wife used to work retail. And so it would be me and the kids kind of flying solo. So it was me doing everything at home when I was home with them. And then same thing with my wife. When she was home, a lot of times I was working. A lot of trade-offs and a lot of, 3-on-1. We have three boys. So all that stuff gets done a little bit at a time. Dinner's on the stove, helping the older with homework, keeping the younger entertained. And sometimes I'd have a sketchbook open on the counter, getting a line drawn here and there. That's the reality of life when you have those kids. So small blocks of time become very valuable. And I think that this challenge really reinforced that for me. It really reminded me that when you have 20 minutes, that doesn't seem like a lot, but 20 minutes after you jump into doing it, you realize, oh, this really took shape, and I've got something done here. I've got something to show for these 20 minutes. That's essentially my big takeaways from this challenge. I am interested to know how you guys fared in the recent challenge. I know there's a big wave of creators who just got done with their 100 days. I started, I think, 10 or 15 days after a big group of the 100s Facebook group. And that's Marshall and Scott Cirkland and that the crew of the 100s guys. So a lot of those were wrapping up already. But how'd you guys do? Some of you, I've seen your wrap-up videos. Let me know how it's going for you, what you're getting out of it. I'm really interested to know, because I'm stoked to have finished this. And I have also been, kind of keeping an eye on the community, because I like to know what other people are getting out of this. And I think the reactions have been really interesting. And I think everybody gets a little something different out of it. Some more, some less. And it's just a really cool kind of community thing that I'm happy that I've done and been a part of. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it pays off for me going forward. And if I get outside of this challenge and sort of fall away from being disciplined and have to kind of jump back in and do it again to tighten up, it'll be interesting to see how soon I think I need to do that. But let me know. Chime in the comments and let me know what you think of this challenge and what you've gotten out of it. On that note, I am going to pull the plug on this stream and call it a day, and tell you thanks for watching, and I hope everybody has enjoyed following along either on Instagram, YouTube, whatever you've watched me on, as I have stumbled and rambled my way through this thing. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you guys later.